Hello to all of you. So, we are here for discussing the question paper, that is the GS-1 that was asked by APSC yesterday, and it had the topics like geography, history, and social issues. So, here I am with the geography and a bit of overlapping topics of social and geography, because social geography is also there, the economic geography part is also there. So let's discuss a few questions, and here at least we can understand from this paper that this time APSC has asked many questions from women centric, from women issues point of view. Let's take up the first question, which is question number 2. Is factor endowment always a necessity for development of an industry? So that was question number 2. Is factor endowment always a necessity for the development of an industry? This was the question for 10 marks, 150 words. Discuss with reference to Assam. So in our classroom discussions, we usually do this chapter on industry, wherein we discuss at length the factors responsible for location of an industry. And this is the part of the same topic, question of the same topic, wherein we have to understand that is factor endowment always a necessity for the development of an industry? So we can mention yes, to a large extent it is required. To a large extent, the availability of resources or availability of so-called factor means same thing like resources. Either we can have human resource or physical resources. Like for example, factors যেতিয়া আমি পঢ়ো industry, তেতিয়া আমি কওঁ geographical factors আছে, non-geographical factors আছে, geographical factors that we call the climate, land, transport, electricity, right? Then entrepreneurship, then labor as both geographical and non-geographical, because one side we are talking about labor as geographical when we take it as local labor, and labor as non-geographical when we take labor as a migrant labor. So then we have government policies, licenses, etc. Then we have finance, insurance, capital, banking and insurance, machinery, all these are there as factors responsible for location of an industry. So we can say that there are multiple factors which are there. If they are present, it is well and good. If they are not present, then we have to resort to one solution, that যদি কোবাত যদি গোপলা মানুহে কোবাত গোপলা ফসি গ'ল, কোনোবা এটা solution পোৱা নাই তেতিয়াহ'লে only one thing that can give us solution, that is technology. So we know that if suppose we are stuck with something, we are not getting answers, then one thing that comes to our rescue is technology. So we usually also discuss with respect to Assam that if you say climate, then ecologically the climate is very good in Assam. The environment of Assam ecologically is very good. It is very good for plant life, animal life, but it is not so good for industry per se. Because for industry we need a bit of dry climate. Hot and moist climate is not so good for industrial purpose. Why so? Because this hot and moist climate is going to cause a lot of bacterial growth, fungal growth, microbial growth. So as a whole, our kind of climate too industrially is not very good. We don't have large pieces of land, so we have hilly areas. Physiographically speaking, Assam has more land, more hilly areas than plain areas. Transport sector is not good because we are flood prone area. Electricity is not much available throughout the year. Entrepreneurial skills are also not so good. So government policies, as of now, we have not seen much forward looking. Finance, we have scarcity of finance, machinery. So we have certain issues with respect to. Then we have water. So we have water. We have raw materials, not much, but at least for tea gardens, suppose we have raw material, the climate is not bad for tea gardens as such. So water is there available and raw materials not much, but at least we can support tea gardens. That's how. Other than that, not much of a significance. So as far as Assam is concerned, to discuss with respect to Assam. So we can conclude that Assam has these issues. We also don't have a coastal area, we don't have a coastal connectivity. So transport, internal transport and external transport, that is, we don't have any international connectivity over here. Again, a major drawback, inhibiting factor. But at least we can say that if suppose, for example, earlier we know that Saudi Arabia had almost nothing. So the people from Saudi Arabia, they were roaming around from here to there, and they were like so-called vagabonds. They were living the nomadic lifestyle. But later on, when they discovered, by sheer use of technology, when they discovered oil, then now the face of Saudi Arabia has completely changed. So after discovery of oil, the entire scenario of Saudi Arabia has got changed. So usually we see, industrially speaking, every country in the world, they move from agriculture to industry to services. If agriculture is vibrant in one area, then the revenue that we get out of it from agriculture, we can invest in industry, and thereby the revenue that we get out of industry, we can invest in the services sector. So usually if you see that mostly USA is now in the services area, all the developed countries are in the services sector these days, but they have started with agriculture, the primary sector, and they went to the secondary, then now to the tertiary or the services sector. So if Assam as a state has to move to that part, then that's the way out. That is, first we have to go through agriculture, make it profitable, invest the revenue out of it in industry, and then we can go to the services part, because services are most paying area. Now with this we can also say that if suppose tomorrow we have two solutions. If we can have some technological input that we can give to agriculture, then we can increase our revenue, and we can make agriculture profitable by introducing some good yielding varieties of seeds, which are like flood prone areas also they can sustain. Or we can do what? We can like introduce other avenues of service sector, like the boss of services sector we say is tourism. So we can at a large scale, we can introduce tourism in Assam. We have ample opportunities for introducing at a large scale tourism in Assam. Tourism also has various facets. We know that we have adventure tourism, eco-tourism, religious tourism, sports tourism, cultural tourism, historical tourism. We have agri-tourism, tea tourism, factory tourism. All these facets of tourism are there, and all of them are available. They can be utilized in Assam. Factory tourism also, it's a new aspect these days. We can open up our factories, like open up our numerical refineries, our big boy refineries, allow people to go there and have a look at how people are exploring or exploiting oil, and they are like drilling oil from these areas. In tea gardens, we can open up to see that the lodges, which Government of Assam has already started, tea tourism. The tea bungalows which are there, we can allow the tourists to stay there and enjoy the tea gardens, how the tea is plucked, etc. And that's how we can introduce tourism. People can spend money in those areas, and investment from the government side is not going to be very, very high. So this is how we can have a panacea, we can have a solution regarding introduction of technology in agriculture sector and diverting our concentration from agriculture or industry towards tourism, directly to the services sector. So that is how we can deal with this question. It's a 10 marker, 150 words. So if we can include some of these aspects, we can have good marks. Then another question, which was question number 3, it's a overlapping between topics of polity and actual disaster management. That is question number 3, which says, what role would you suggest for Panchayati Raj institutions in earthquake preparedness? So what role would you suggest for Panchayati Raj institutions in earthquake? So if you look at this question, it has overlap between the polity and the geography paper, or also the disaster management part, which is in paper 3 and 4. So suppose we have Panchayati Raj institution, we know what all Panchayati Raj institutions are there from our polity knowledge, and here suddenly they have asked it to have connection with suggests for Panchayati Raj in earthquake preparedness. So now earthquake preparedness will come as disaster management, but now how to connect the dots? So far we know that in terms of disaster management, for example, we have the National Disaster Management Authority at the national level. So why they ask this question is majorly because we have the National Disaster Management Authority, which is at the national level. Below that we have the State Disaster Management Authority, which is at the state level, and then we have the District Disaster Management Authority, which is at the district level. Similarly, in terms of the force application or the implementation part, then we have the NDRF, the National Disaster Response Force, Below that we have the SDRF, the State Disaster Response Force. So if you look at this setup, this hierarchy, then there is almost no hierarchy or no official position below the District Disaster Management Authority. So here why they have asked is, at the micro level, when we go for implementation of those policies and schemes, and plus suppose in terms of disaster management like rescue and rehabilitation, recovery of people during earthquakes or any kind of such kind of an extreme event, then we find a bit of inhibition, a bit of blockage that below the district disaster management, there is no as such a proper authority. So the powers has to be given for the panchayati to the Panchayati Raj institution, so that at the village level, the Gaon Bura can hold a meeting and they can be given some authority. So they can mobilize people, they can door to door awareness creation they can make. Door-to-door awareness creation that they can go for, and also what do's and don'ts which are there associated with a earthquake or any kind of such kind of an extreme event, which has to be pursued, which has to be taken over by the villagers, because they are not very highly educated. So we have to persuade them, we have to convince them to follow the proper SOPs. So what all SOPs are there, standard operating procedures are there to be followed during an earthquake. So in that order we can make a write-up for this 10 marker. Again, not a very long answer, 150 words, 1.5 page, more than enough. So next question is actually, many people say that it's social issues, yes, but then we discuss this as a part of geography as well, because social geography aspect also we keep discussing it in the class, which says that, do you see Indian women as an untapped human resource? Give reasons. So it's a good question. Do you see Indian women as an untapped human resource? Now this is also a very good women related question. Do you see Indian women as an untapped human resource? Give reasons. We keep on discussing in the class that almost major women folks. So when we teach women, then we say that we teach a girl. When we teach a girl, we teach a mother, a sister, a daughter, a wife, or anybody of that sort. But when we teach a boy, then you only teach a boy. Usually don't teach a father or a son or a husband or anybody of that relation. Why so? Because it has been observed that first of all, the males, they have not taken the responsibility of, they have been observed as being shying away from taking the responsibility of the entire family or the entire society. But on the other hand, the women usually they take up the responsibility of the family as well as of the society at large. Why? Because many a time we have seen evidences, we have seen many instances wherein the husband, he earns something and he spends everything on himself, whereas a wife, when he earns something, she saves her some of the income for the children, for betterment of the children, for their childhood, for the education of the children, all these things. So that is one part that we can say that the resources, so they have not been given so much of emphasis, so much of impetus so far in the Indian society that they can take up certain important role and they can, you can sort out such issues. So we can agree with the statement that, yes, we can say that they have, they are untapped. Second important issue is that if you see the largest employer of women in terms of industry, so the largest employer of women in terms of industry is the tea industry. But the issue is, we have seen in the tea industry at what level the women are working. They are not much working at the managerial level. Rather, they are plucking the leaves from the tea gardens. They are working as a menial worker, and it's not a very huge amount of money that they are going to earn from these activities. So they are getting pittance, they are getting peanuts for the entire. So tea industry is a very lucrative industry in India. It's a very cash crop. But the women folk, they are not getting huge amount of money. So that's the reason why they have not been able to take care of their families. Also, even in terms of women reservation, we can give the example that why people are these days trying to bring more and more women into even administration, even politics, everywhere. Sports, music, art and culture, everywhere people are asking for more and more women involvement. Women's self-help groups, they have asked another question for women's self-help group. This question is mostly, this paper is mostly women-centered. So all these things we can give reasons why they want, because as I said, because more and more women empowerment and more women involvement, we can say that the leakages can be less, the economic leakages can be less, and the money can be used more for productive purposes rather than more unproductive purposes. For example, we know that usually boys have more bad habits like eating tobacco and liquor, drinking, etc. So the money goes waste. So, but usually, exceptions are always there, but usually women do not have, or girls do not have that kind of bad habits. So that's the reason why the money can be there intact with their family or with themselves, which can be utilized for future prospects. So this is the main reason, first of all, to stop the leakages, the economic leakages. Secondly, also, it has been observed that in terms of corruption as well, it has been found that women are not so much involved as compared to the male colleagues. So let them give a chance and let them bring more into the administration or political arena so that they can show a broader prospect to the new generations, to the younger generation, to the coming generations. These are some of the reasons. So we can pile up our answer around these points and we can fetch good marks. Then another question is there. Again, we can set it up. We can say that it can be a social issues question or it can be even social geography question. Why? Because the question they asked was, what do you mean tribal belts and blocks in Assam? What accounts for tribal land alienation in the state? Suggest measures to check this trend. So what do you mean by tribal belts and blocks in Assam? So we know that Assam is a multi-religious, multicultural, multi-ethnic state, like overall the entire country. And we have multiple tribes here. And these tribes are located in certain belts, like we have the western belt, we have the northern belt, we have the eastern belt, we have the Dima Hausa, we have the Dimasas, the Kabis, and then we have the western belt where we have the Boros. That's how there are certain pockets in which these tribes are distributed. What accounts for tribal land alienation in the state? Now, we know that there is a sixth schedule, under which we have certain tribal areas, their rights are intact for in a non-tribal state as such. But then, when you talk about land alienation, another point that comes to our mind is sometimes the forest rights also comes over here, because many of the people, that is not only the issue with Assam, but also in rest of the country like Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, where we have a large tribal population. The people are tribal people are finding more and more alienated, majorly because the forest rights have been weaned away from their hold, and suddenly you have declared a national park or a national reserve forest. The people, the tribes usually have been staying in that area since a long time, hereditarily. So they find it quite unconvincing, or they find it quite out of sync to adjust with that situation so far that we have created by certain rights or forest laws, that it has been put under forest belt. So this is another reason why they have found a bit more alienated. Second part is the normal psychology of a tribe is not to disturb others, neither to get disturbed by others. That is, suppose we have hills and valleys, and suppose there is one group of people who are living over here, another group of people who are living over here, and a third group of people who are living over here, in an area where you have multiple hills and valleys, then they will incur a unique identity of themselves, a unique culture of themselves, which can be called, and any such kind of a group of people with a unique culture, tradition, lifestyle, food habits, clothing, shelter, dance forms, will be called as a tribe. Now, more and more people live in the 21st century, in the modern civilized era. The communication links are getting more and more connected. They are getting more and more connected to each and every tribe. So the tribal uniqueness, we can say, is getting blurred a bit. It's getting blurred. That is another part. But we don't have to highlight much of this issue in this question, because the question doesn't need that part. So simply alienation, we can say that new trends have come with globalization, liberalization, privatization, and with that some of the tribes may have found it out of sync, or they have been able to adjust, some have not been able to adjust. So they are finding it more like alienated, more sidelined from the mainstream. This much will be enough for our second part. The third part says, suggest measures to check this trend. So now, in order to stop this trend of alienation, what we have to do is we have to acknowledge the tribal uniqueness, the tribal language, culture, traditions, and if possible we can set up new tribal studies. New dialects have to be their dialects, their cultures, traditions have to be preserved, and more and more studies can be done in such areas so that they do not feel alienated. This much will be more than enough for such type of question. Then we come to another question, which is again, it has come as I am taking it up in the geography paper because it talks about G20 chair, and it is more about like globalization in the new global order. So geopolitics, G20 is geopolitics, that's why I have taken it up. But otherwise again the issue is again women centric. As G20 chair, because this time G20 chairperson is India, India has identified women-led development as one of the high priority subjects. Again the same thing, women-led development as the high priority subjects. Discuss the merits of women-led development in the context of India. So I think both these questions are overlapping. Here the same thing, discuss here the reasons that they asked about Indian women as an untapped human resource. Why we want more women in the mainstream, every sector. And this question is almost overlapping, so we can easily pile upon this question to write another, to give another twist to this question. Discuss the merits of women-led development in the context of India. So merits of women-led development is that first, like corruption will be less. Second, women empowerment will lead to the other half of the society giving good representation, which has been so far aloof from the mainstream. Third is they can have usually the brain body index is quite high for women, so IQ level is quite regarded to be high for women as compared to men in at large. So they can have a different viewpoint for every kind of problem solving. So far we have been a male dominated society, and then we have been looking at the problem solving from male viewpoint. So we can have a different viewpoint for a solution for a different question altogether. That this issue can also be these are some of the merits. Secondly, fourthly, we can say that women are also regarded to be like masters of soft power. So in today's world, it's more about winning over somebody or some country or some area by soft power rather than hard power. And so I think women are more, they're better as compared to male counterparts for as far as soft power is concerned. So they have the more convincing power. They can convince the other person on the other side for betterment, for making the task done, for getting the task done. So these are some of the evidence, some of the important merits we can say. Then the next question is very, very interesting question. This also we keep on discussing in the class. So suppose the question is question number 16. It says, what are the factors responsible for the out-migration of rural youths from Assam? Do you think this is a positive and an inevitable process? Again, a long question of 250 words, 10 plus 5. So here also we can easily understand what are the factors responsible for the out-migration of rural youth from Assam. First of all, why people are going out, especially the youth are going out from rural youth from Assam. Point number 1, job prospects. Now the thing is, it is said from Assam, that means rural youth not going to the urban areas of Assam, but they are going to other cities of India. This shows that job prospects are, according to them, not much available in urban areas of Assam as well. But in the urban areas of other states, so we have seen during COVID that many people working outside the state of Assam have been coming back, have been returning. Many of them, they have returned for as a permanent solution. But then why they have been going out? Because of job prospects. Secondly, this can be put under 1 point or it can be put under 2 points, that the job prospects are there in the urban areas, but when they compare urban areas of Assam and urban areas of other states of the country, then they find it more feasible, more profitable to go to the other parts of the country rather than holding on to the urban areas of Assam like Guwahati or Dibrugarh, Jorhat, Nalbari, Borpeta, etc. Because they find that the prospects are not so much even in the urban areas of Assam. That's a thought process, may be correct, may not be correct entirely. But now the second thing is the skill. So division of labor, we can say, we think the division of labor has not happened, not much, in the urban areas of Assam. As a result of which, the skilled people, they are unable to fit themselves in the urban areas of Assam like Guwahati, Nalbari, Borpeta, Jorhat, Dibrugarh. If suppose a person is a photographer, he is, even as a photographer, he is unable to get a prospective job in Guwahati or somewhere, but he may get that prospect of that job of a photographer in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Delhi or Mumbai, wherever. If a person is a skilled person in terms of suppose a painting or fashion designing, then not much of a scope for textile designing or for leather designing, for footwear technology, etc. There are many avenues which are there, and likewise catering and etc., hospitality, hotel management and hospitality sector, not much of a scope as far as we have observed in the urban areas, especially the hub of Northeast, that is in Guwahati. So they have been looking at, and media, the thing is that third point we can say that awareness has increased even in the rural areas because of multimedia, social media. So it has created awareness of the outside world, and now even the rural areas, they are getting aware about the outside world, so they do not stick to Guwahati or other urban areas of Assam or Northeast, rather they try to move out to the bigger cities of India for better prospects. So secondly, the youth has more dreams these days, so aspirations are getting more and more higher. So you cannot limit the youth to lower aspirations. The aspiration level is getting higher. So because the awareness has increased as a result of multimedia, social media, electronic media, so they want to prove themselves, they want to find a niche for themselves, and so they want to move out, and the aspirations levels have gone up for like proving themselves for certain areas. And as I said, like new avenues of like wildlife photography, fashion designing, textile designing, leather designing, other aspects of like CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces, other government jobs, so and many other prospects like painting, dance, music, then there are many institutions outside. For example, the National Institute of Fashion Film Technology, Indian Institute of Film Technology, Pune, and all these institutes are there. They want to get admitted into those institutions, do some specializations, animations. So we don't have much prospect of animation in Northeast, but people are going out, gaming. So they are learning the tricks of the trades, the graphic designing, etc. All these courses are there outside. So they want to prove themselves in all these avenues. Multiple, so division of labor, as we said, multiple avenues are there, open. So in order to, these are the main reasons why we can say they have been going out. Do you think it is a positive and an inevitable process? We can say that it is to a large extent, we can say it's a positive. Why positive? Because if people from Assam, students from Assam, or youth from even rural youths are going out, they will learn something, and there will be increase in human resource. We can say there will be addition of human resource. There will be value addition of the youth, rural youth of the state. Even if they don't come back, if they come back, it will be an asset. They will be an asset for the state as a whole. Even if they don't come back, but they may send money to their near and dear ones, so there will be remittance. So there can be human resource enhancement as well as there can be remittance addition. Human resources enhancement may be there, plus there will be remittance coming in from outside, which can benefit the state economy at large. Correct. So it is a positive, but not an inevitable process. It's not a compulsory process, must process. Why? Because it would be better if you can provide those facilities, those, as I said, awareness or division of labor, those to cope up with their aspirations. We can provide such facilities within the state. So that will be better. We can keep it within the state, and we can utilize their talents. We can stop rural to urban migration. As such, if we can set up certain local institutes in the village areas to empower the village youth in terms of sports, in terms of music, culture, traditions, fooding, clothing, any kind of technological enhancement, ITIs we can set up. If you open up almost in every rural block or circles, then we can provide such a, like, which is called as the PURA, providing urban amenities in the rural areas. So we can first of all stop rural people from going out permanently. So we can save our human resource. Secondly, we can make use of the people in the rural area by utilizing their experience in agriculture also. If we can make our agriculture more vibrant, more dynamic, and we can utilize their traditional knowledge of agriculture by siphoning them, by diverting them towards technologically enhanced agricultural techniques. So rather than allowing a free flow of people from the rural Assam towards out of Assam, we can provide such kind of facilities or such kind of trainings within the village areas, within the rural parts of Assam, and we can make utilize of it, because then already we have in terms of demography, we have an elderly dependent population which is already there in Assam. So if the elderly dependent population in Assam grows demographically, then also it will be a big chaos for the society, for the state as a whole. So we don't want the rural youths from Assam to permanently go out of Assam and settle down somewhere else, either in the country or outside the country. Even if they are sending remittance, because money is not everything, but people have to be there taking care of their elders in the rural areas. Otherwise there will be social tension. So that is not the entire thing. Again, the rescue comes, this word comes, that is technology comes to a rescue. If you can make use of it, if you can utilize, if you can open up more ITI institutes in the rural areas, that can be a solution. providing proper training, proper expertise to various aspects. It can be sports or music or dance or culinary techniques or even graphics, um, then even science and technology for that matter. Only having the IIT will not be of much use, will not be only sufficient, because these are like temples of growth, these are islands of growth, sorry. So they will not have much spread effect. IITs and all, they will not have much spread effect. At the local level, we need to have more and more of ITIs, more and more of technical institutes wherein we can provide more of, we can produce more electricians, more carpenters, more fitting shops we can establish, so that they can open their own merchandise, they can open their own shops and establishments, and giving them a bit of ingenuity and self-dependent. So that will be a better solution for Assam as a state. So we can write all these things in this question. Then I have also sorted out one, there is a direct question from geography, that is, discuss the processes through which the Earth atmosphere system maintains heat balance. So it's a direct question from geography. Question number 20. Discuss the processes and in this question I forgot to mention one more issue is there. If we allow the rural youth, especially the males, from going out from rural areas to Assam, of Assam to other states, then the sex ratio will become very high in Assam, and already the males are going out from Assam, and this has made the sex ratio very high in this part. And in the western part of India, like in Punjab, Haryana and Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra and all these states, the sex ratio has gone down. And this can, if it continues, this can lead to a very big problem of human trafficking. And we know that Assam is one of the major source of human trafficking in India, going towards the western part of India. So if we do not provide such kind of facilities in the rural parts of Assam, then the rural youth, especially the males, will go out, and if they go out, then the sex ratio will go up, and if that goes up, then human trafficking can also increase. It is on the rise. That is another point that we can put over here. Now moving forward, discuss the processes through which the Earth atmosphere system maintains heat balance. 250 words, 15 marks. Sorry. So, here we discuss in detail about the circulation of air and also the circulation of water. So, we have the equator, 30° north, 30° south latitude, then we have the 60° north, 60° south latitude, then 90° north, 90° south latitude. When we assume that the sun is at the equator almost twice a year, as a result, we know that the equator becomes very hot, very warm, and as a result, the warm air is going to rise up to a height of about 12 kilometers. After rising up, this warm air is going to spread out While spreading, it will get cool, and this cool air is going to this cool air is going to come down, and the observation is that it comes down, it falls along 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south, and thereby it compensates the loss of air on the ground along the equator, and then one part moves toward the equator, another part moves toward the poles. There is a cool band of air along the ground which is coming from 90 to 60 degree, and at 60 degree what is happening is this comparatively warm air, after getting collided, it is going to rise up after getting obstructed by the cool air coming from the 90. Then it's also likewise it is going to spread, get cool, and is going to subduct along the poles and also along the joining with the subtropical high. So this is called as a Hadley cell, Ferrel cell and polar cell we study in geography. And by this what happens is the warm air, we can say, after rising from the equator, move this way, comes down, again moves towards the 60 degree, goes up, again goes to 90 degree and again falls. That means there is a movement of warm air in this manner along this route from equator towards the pole, and a cool air from the pole is coming from the pole towards the 60 degree, rising up at the 60 degree, going towards 30 degree, coming down and again going to the 0 degree. So this is the movement of cool air and this is the movement of warm air. From equator to the poles and from pole to the equator. So we can describe a bit about a Hadley cell, Ferrel cell, polar cell, and we can say that as a result of this we can conclude that a warm air mass is gradually moving from bringing heat from the equator towards the pole, and a cool air mass is coming from the pole towards the equator, bringing coolness from the pole to the equator, balancing the heat at the ground level, also above the ground level. So this is one way of our atmosphere system maintaining the heat balance or balancing the heat. Second part is what happens at the oceanic level. So in every ocean what happens is, suppose this is the Pacific Ocean, this is the equator. So at the oceanic level what we find when we study the ocean currents, that there is a warm current, warm water which is at the equatorial level, and because the earth is spinning from west to east, the air and the water is moving from east to west. These are called as north equatorial current and south equatorial current. So here I am just quickly describing all these things, but otherwise in class we have discussed in detail about all these aspects. So we have the warm current which is moving from east to west. It moves along the pole, along the eastern side of the continents or western side of the oceans, and after reaching here from this side another circulation starts. That is, from here a cool ocean current is trying to come towards this side. Here also the same thing happens. A cool ocean current moves towards this side. So usually we see whether it's Pacific Ocean or Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean is a half ocean. So usually what happens, along the equator the warm current is moving from east to west, moves towards the north along the poles, towards the poles. From the pole a cool current is moving towards Alaska, California, or from Peru, Chile, along the Humboldt current, this side. So western part of the continent and eastern part of the ocean will have cool currents. Eastern part of the continents and western part of the oceans will have warm currents. So this brings Again, like here, in the oceans as well, if we assume this to be, suppose Pacific Ocean, sorry. Suppose Pacific Ocean, then western side of Pacific Ocean we have Russia, we have Japan, we have Australia in the south, and eastern part of Pacific Ocean we have the North America and South America. So along the western part of the ocean or eastern part of Asia, we have warm current which moves towards the pole, north and south, and along the eastern part of the ocean or western part of North America and South America, we have a cold current moving from pole to the equator. This also brings heat, or it takes heat from equator to the pole and brings coolness from the pole towards the equator, keeping a balance. So this is air circulation and this is water circulation, and both this air and water circulation is going to maintain the balance of heat at the ground level, also above the ground level. So we have to write around these points. That's how we can say it was a balance. It was a good thought-provoking question, thought-provoking answer, we can say. The other question that I had also jotted down, but that's not directly geography, but from geopolitical point of view, we can write many things over here. Describe how India is contributing to the globalized world with its values and ethos. So many times we have seen that India's significance in the world arena has been so far been talked about a lot because of growing importance of India in the world scenario, because of its balanced view in almost all the international concepts, all the international aspects. So we know that we have a balanced view on terrorism, we have a balanced view on occupying a foreign territory or something. So India has a track record of never confiscating others' properties or confiscating or grabbing other countries' land as such. We have a successful track record of sending our peacekeeping forces wherever the peacekeeping forces are required. One of the largest contributor of peacekeeping force in the world for the United Nations is India. So these are some of the things that have enabled us to be a front runner towards the permanent membership of Security Council. So how India is contributing to the global world with its values and ethos. We have multiple moral values, we have historical values, we have ethos in the sense that we have a typical cultural bonding, we have social bondings, we have multiplicity, we have unity in multiplicity, we have multi-religious, multicultural, multi-ethnic, all these aspects. Still India is holding on to its nerves and continuing peacefully, though some hiccups do occur here and there, like in Manipur these days, but still we have been able to continue. It has been very difficult to run a country like this with various multiplicities. So without any value or without any ethos, it's not actually possible. So we have multiple do's and don'ts, multiple constitutional do's and don'ts, multiple ethical do's and don'ts, and moral do's and don'ts which sustain the society, which helps us to grow and to continue and sustain. So this has been observed, this has been taken care of by most of the countries developing as well as developed third world countries as well. And they have been observing India that somehow or the other, even though we have been invaded by multiple during multiple time by multiple types of people, but still we have been able to sustain ourselves. So there has to be a reason for this. Fine. So around these aspects we can create a very nice holistic answer. So that's all from my side. Hope you are doing good in your exam, and this paper you have written nicely, and whatever papers are lined up, I hope you all the best, do good and do shine in the exam. Thank you all.